Hi everyone, welcome back to Pine Hollow Auto Diagnostics. Today we are going to be talking about engine mounts and why they're important. Behind me, the 1996 Mercury Mystique. It's not broken, it drives fine, but in the winter, when it was really cold, I noticed that it was excessively noisy and just kind of running rough, not, misfiring or anything, but you're accelerating and it's cold and it's like, you just feel it, it's noisy. Why is that? And when it warms up right now in the spring, it's a lot better. I couldn't explain it. I replaced the muffler a while back. Like, is the muffler bad again? No, it's not the muffler. It's the engine mounts. Let's see what we're talking about. What's the purpose of engine mounts? Well, obviously it's to hold up your engine so it doesn't fall to the ground. The one that most people don't really, kind of take for granted is they isolate noise and vibration of the drivetrain, of the engine and transmission, from the frame and the body of the vehicle. So in this case, what's the layout? How many engine mounts do we have? So on a front-wheel drive vehicle, typically you'll have 2 load-bearing mounts on each end, and then 2 mounts that keep the engine from rocking back and forth. When you're accelerating, there's the reverse torque, and you want to keep the engine from, moving that way. And the mounts that really get hammered are the load-bearing mounts. So on the passenger side, you see there's the rubber isolator. There's this big bracket holding up the engine that's resting on the rubber pillow, which is attached to the frame of the car. Notice there's this rubber piece sticking out, and it's like all the way down there. It's bottomed out. Here is what a new mount looks like. Notice the rubber piece is all the way up here, not down here. Obviously when you bolt the engine to the top, it'll compress a little bit, but this mount is completely shot. The rubber here is spanked, and when it's cold outside, that rubber, was 23 years old, it gets hard, and all the vibration gets transferred from your engine to the frame of the car. Having worked at my new company for a year, all we do is vibration analysis. So the path of transfer, for the vibration is through a hard surface. When that rubber gets hard, it transfers vibration a lot better in the winter time. So today, let's see, move on to the other side here. So transmission on this side is held up by this mount, bolted to the frame. There's the rubber. Again, completely hammered. Here's a new one for comparison. So it would sit like this. You see the hole is kind of towards the top. Right there, the hole is kind of towards the bottom. So it's sunk a good part of an inch. And a clue to that was when I was replacing the clutch on this car, I'm like, why is the transmission resting on the subframe? That's not supposed to happen. It was like rubbing. So what I had to do to the original mount was put washers under here to kind of jack it up. I also put rubber pieces kind of in this gap right in here to help hold up the whole transmission here. I mean, you can kind of see where it used to rub. Right where the transmission is getting close to the subframe. It's still holding up, but it was not a good situation. So today we're replacing 2 engine mounts. I'm going to take it for a test drive and see if it gets a lot smoother. Just, when you're accelerating over 3,000 RPM, it was really getting kind of annoying. Now, the replacement mounts, this one, on the transmission side, I had to settle for an aftermarket one. Made in India, I guess. Because I searched everywhere on the internet for an OEM Ford mount. I found one on eBay. It was like 150 bucks, 30 bucks shipping, 3 weeks out. I'm like, oh man, well, I'll bite the bullet. Ordered it, never got it, I want to refund. The guy still owes me my money back. So we're going over with an aftermarket for the driver's side on the transmission. On the passenger side, I got lucky on eBay. This is the original Ford part, and it was like 30 bucks. So this guy here, that's what we're gonna use. It's all one piece, and you know, lucky find on that. But if you're getting engine mounts for an old vehicle, sometimes it can be hard to find this stuff. But let's install it. And I'll be honest, I've never actually replaced an engine mount. These things are taken for granted. They usually last the life of the vehicle, and you know, never have any problems with them. The times when you really notice them is on a smaller 4-cylinder engine. I'll tell you why. So if you have a larger engine, or one that's longitudinally mounted, you know, they have the big engine mounts on each side of the frame, plus a transmission mount. Like my Suzuki has that, and the 89 MPV. Original mounts, well actually on the Suzuki I had to replace the rear transmission mount, the third one. But the MPV still has the original mounts. And that has a 4-cylinder engine. However, it has balance shafts built into the engine that help reduce the vibration. Because if you have a V6 or a V8, those are inherently balanced. Or inline 6. Very smooth engines. On a 4-cylinder, however, you either have to have the balance shafts, or you just have to have good engine mounts. Like on this 2-liter Z-Tech, this is just a regular old 4-banger, and you feel the vibration more because 4-cylinders aren't inherently balanced. I think it's, I guess you have to go into the theory, but it's not the primary harmonic, it's like the secondary. But with 4 cylinders, you get that buzzing. Exception to that rule is the Subaru horizontal 4. Those are very smooth, don't require any counterbalancing just because of the way the dynamics work. So on Subarus, you never have to replace engine mounts. Even if they're shot, it'll still run pretty smooth. But on cars like this and the 1996 Geo Prism, that thing is just noisy. It is so loud. So if I get that car in, maybe I'll suggest engine mounts to the owner, and we'll see if he wants to invest and make that car run a little quieter. So by the way, the other 2 mounts, one is in the front right here. You can see the through bolt going through it, and that rubber is still fine. Again, it's not loaded, it's just to prevent the engine from torquing. And the 4th mount is down here, the bottom of the transmission, and this rubber is still plenty pliable, it's not squished, so we're not going to worry about those 2 mounts. We're just going to replace the load bearing mounts on the driver and passenger side. So this mount down here I actually removed when I did the clutch, so it shouldn't be too awfully seized, and we're just taking out the center bolt and 1, 2, 3 bolts on the side of the mount, and they should all be the same size, I believe. They're all 15s, and we'll put a little more anti-seize on there if we need to. Just want to get them all started here. Alright, perfect. And finish it off, we can just use our little air ratchet in reverse. Now this bolt might go a little far. And that guy will do once we get the center bolt out, which should come out if there's no load on the car. So what you want to do is put a jack with a board under the transmission and jack it up until the actual mount gets unloaded. And that's when the bolt is actually, you can loosen it by hand. So somewhere in the middle, right about there. Let's try again here. See, I can actually spin it by hand somewhat. So that means the mount is unloaded and we can replace it without too much fuss. Look at that bolt. Boom. Still clean. Amazing. Now, should be able to get in here with our little ratchet and get these guys out of here. There's one. There's two. Always keep your bolts in one place. And last but not least, that's the last one. This mount should just come right up out of here. Unless I'm missing something. Get these huge washers out of here. That was my makeshift support. Before I recognized that I needed a new engine mount, I thought they were lifetime. Guys up right here. Now let's try our best to get this thing up and out of here. So it comes with this like triangle piece stamped Ford. Ford is really proud of their parts. At least they used to be. And then this is my really hard piece of rubber, probably what was transmitting all the vibrations. And this mount is completely compressed and not really doing its function anymore. Here's a direct comparison of the old versus the new. Huge gap, small gap. That's what it's supposed to look like. Nice solid rubber in there. This thing is beyond hammered. The only thing that was holding up is this little piece of rubber I shoved in here so it wouldn't sink completely to the bottom. Let's put it in. Remember our little magic triangle. And hopefully the aftermarket unit will deliver a smooth ride. For good luck, let's spray all the bolt holes with a little fluid film. This guy too. Alright, let's see if the new mount will be friendly. Plop right in here. So I think you have to go kind of sideways a little bit. Shimmy, 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 and boom. Nice. Let's get the big bolt started in, since that's kind of the hardest one. Put a little anti-seize on there. You should thread right in. We did everything right. Might take a little bit of coercion to get the whole line up. Alright, I think it's starting to forward. Get our tool shoved in here. Alright, sweet. Now the remaining 3 bolts. One, two, 3. good. And this guy, I think I'll use an extension since we already put the center bolt in. Alright, let's torque all of these to spec, whatever the spec is. There's one. Two. Three. And last but not least, 4. Alright, moment of truth. Once we get the weight off of this mount, how far down is it going to go? So I'm going to release the floor jack, and is the transmission hitting the subframe? No, it is not. Got plenty of room in there. Perfect. So we're going to call this guy good. Move on to the other side. Well, I noticed one little flaw about the aftermarket mount. These holes up here that hold the bracket for the air box, it's not pre-threaded like the original mount. You can see there are threads in here that the bolts go into, 8x125. So I'm just going to try to either thread these holes or see what happens. Worst case scenario, we can put a nut on the bottom. But these should be threaded holes. Spray a little something on there and go to town. Well, I got one of the holes done. Here's the second one. Try and make it nice and straight. So I think they're drilled to the right size, but they're definitely not tapped. So maybe they forgot that. But you're only paying $50 for this one versus like not available for the other one. So we'll just use what we can get. Nice taps are always cut very smoothly. All right, there's number 2. Now, we put that in. Again, spray a little fluid film for a little corrosion protection on there. Here's a little bracket. I mean, it only holds up the air box, but still, you want something to screw it into. Perfect. And I'll lubricate these with WD-40 so the air box slides in nice. This side, done. So on this side, very similar procedure, except for I'm going to try to not take this bracket out because some of these bolt holes in the aluminum are stripped out. So you can see I replaced them with just regular bolts. They're kind of studs with nuts on them. So we're just gonna try this. Wow, it's too easy. This new impact the 20 volt by DeWalt, no problem. So now if we jack up the engine underneath with a wooden board, let's see if this will just come up and over the mount. It might be a tight squeeze. See if we can just barely manage. Okay, the mount is free. So now if I can just undo the mount and slide it this way, we should be in good shape. So for this step, we're going to try to use the extendable ratchet Steelman Pro 1/2 inch flex head. Alright. That one's coming loose. Got it down here. Cross your fingers, that was number 2. And number 3. Nice. So now we'll just take this off and use our impact driver to get these bolts out. Would be easier with the bracket off, but if I can work around it, I'll work around it. There's 2. There's 3. Alright, now the question is, can we slide this mount out and around? Yes. And yes. Alright, well, Tetris. So let's see how bad it is compared to a new one. There's that guy. You can see the rubber is kind of cracked and smushed. It's still, you know, floating. Oh wow, it has a whole bunch of, like a steel rod and these dampers. So engine mounts are not as simple as they look. There's a new one. Definitely sets higher, but the real test will be once the load of the engine's on there, how low will this one sink down? Alright, I think we're in pretty good shape. Engine mount is in its happy spot. And we'll just torque these down. One, 2, 3. Let the engine down completely, slowly. Alright, it's down. Jack is out. And this thing is closer to the top of its trowel than the bottom. Remember, the old one was bottomed out completely. So you can even see it move. It floats. It's happy. You gotta put these nuts back on here. This should be in really, really good shape. Torque it down and we'll take it for a spin. I'm excited. Alright, she's all buttoned up. Let's take the Mystique for a spin. Place your bets now. Is the vibration and noise going to decrease significantly? You'll just have to take my word for it. Alright, let's try a little acceleration. Love it. Just awesome. You can still hear the engine, but you can't feel it anymore. It's kind of hard to describe. Wow. That's sweet. Well, I'm happy. I thought this car was already pretty smooth, but this is a whole nother level. Just a couple little rubber engine mounts make all the difference. So, if your car is really noisy and vibrational, not as quiet as it used to be, and it's really old, but it's reliable and trusty, try some new engine mounts. It can't hurt. Thanks all for watching. See you guys next time. Bye-bye.